In the last video on basic charts, I took some real life data about the weight of some kittens and made some charts with those. Today we're going to do something slightly different, but still using Excel. We're going to make a simulation of some imaginary kittens and see how their weight progresses. I'm going to use this example to show you lots of different skills in Excel. Right, step one is always to save your work. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. Don't try not to save stuff on your desktop, but that's why I'm going to do this for now. I'm going to call it Kitten Simulation. Now you could do this on the online version of Office 365, the Excel app, I mean, but you have more functions available on the desktop version, so use it if you can. Otherwise, you should be able to do all of today's things still on the cloud-based Office 365 version of Excel. Right. First of all, we're going to have a column for date, and today's date is the 22nd / of the 4th / 2020. Press enter. Now I want to bring the dates. I want to autofill the dates down. So if I autofill that, it does actually automatically do it for me. But I do want to explain to you what's going on behind the scenes with this. We did talk about it in the last video, but in case you haven't seen that one, the way Excel stores numbers is that it converts every single day since the 1st of January 1900. It converts that to a day. So the 1st of January 1900 is day 1, 2nd of January 1900 was day 2, and so on. So the 22nd of April 2020, if I go to Format Cells and change it to General, is the 43,943rd day since the 1st of January 1900. But so if I now say, right, I want the following day under that, we take a relative cell value, so press up to get V3 and then add 1 to that. It's automatically changed it to the 23rd of April, which is clever, but just to show you what it's actually done, it's gone 43,944, so it's the following day. So I've dragged that formula down to show all the days. Now again, that looks kind of meaningless, so obviously let's turn that back to dates. Now we'll display it like this. So there you go. Okay, so we're going to imagine that there's 5 different kittens, and we're going to simulate, so that means make a computer model of these imaginary kittens and see how much weight they gain over time. To start with, we want to have them have a random mass. All kittens should be, when they're born, somewhere between 70 and 180 grams. So I want to make my kitten have a random weight somewhere between 70 and 180 grams. So I'm going to use a function called randbetween. So you write randbetween. Now, as you can see underneath there, I'm going to delete some of that. You can see the computer is trying to suggest that I want to use randbetween. So if I just put in RAN, there's loads of functions that start with RAN. But once I get to RAND, it should narrow it down. RANDB, it knows I want randbetween. So instead of having to type the whole thing out, I can press Tab on my keyboard and it automatically completes it for me. I want it to be a random number between 70 and 180. And then close the brackets and press enter, and it's given me a random number, 153. Now if I press Control C, copy that function, and press Control V, it's going to continually give me different numbers between 70 and 180. Now what you're going to notice as I go through this is it will keep changing, because every time you create a formula, a function I should say, every time you use it and then you use another function, it recalculates every function on the page. So that is something we will need to be aware of as we go on. Just as a side note, another function you may have seen there is just a regular rand function, RAND, open close brackets. And what that does is that gives you a random number, and you can see the other one here recalculating. It gives you a random number only between 0 and 1. It will never be anything other than a number between 0 and 1. Not useful in this case, so I'm going to delete that. Okay. Actually, this column header here I really want that to wrap text so that it doesn't go into column D. So I think that's probably going to happen more than once in this row. So I'm going to select the entire row by clicking row 2 here, and then click text wrap. And what that does is it forces the text to go no further than the defined edge of this cell. And in fact, you can see just as I press that there, it's recalculating the mass every time. The kitten. We can change that later so it stops doing that. Now, next what we're going to do is imagine that the kitten is going to put on at least 5% of their weight every day. So it's going to increase by 5%. So I'm going to call it this column basic 5% gain. So to work out a percentage, my preferred way is to turn the percentage, use your knowledge of percentages, to turn that percentage into a decimal number. So you should know that 5% is 0.05. And to find what 5% of the kitten's mass is, I'm going to do 0.05 and multiply it by the actual current mass. So 5% of, in this case, 143 is 7.15. Now, that's too specific for this simulation. I don't want it to be 7.15. I just want to have one number. So I'm going to show you how to round the numbers. So in this column, I'm going to have... Okay, so next we're going to show what that number is rounded. So 8.95. We don't want it to be any decimals. We just want to have a whole number integer to show how much basically this kitten's gained. So we're going to use a round function. Now, a quick word on rounding functions. You've got, if I start typing in round, I've got the basic rounding. I've also got round up and down. I just want to show you what those could be used for. So round down will force a number to be rounded down even though we think it should be rounded up. So 7.9, for example, with no decimal places, so to the nearest whole number, 7.9, we know that should go to 8. If we use the round down function, we can actually force it to round down to 7, which is very useful in certain situations. In this particular one, we're not going to do that. We're just going to say normal round. I'm going to say, can you round whatever is in this cell and round it so it has no decimal places? So in other words, the nearest whole number. And so it takes whatever number is there. Now it's 4.35 and it rounds it to 4. If I recalculate that by pressing Control C and V, give me some new numbers. So that's 7.65 rounds to 8 and so on. It will always round it to the nearest whole number. Now, that's good because that's exactly what we wanted. If we want to make this slightly more advanced, you don't have to do this, but if you want to be a bit more, if you want your spreadsheets to be neater, instead of having this in 2 cells, we can say, right, do this calculation, 5%, and round it within this cell to avoid having too many unnecessary cells. So within this cell, let me start that again so you can see, instead of having, I'm going to delete this, so I'm going to say in this cell, still want to do 5% of whatever is in C3, but once I've done that, I want to round it. So I'm going to put a round bracket. We'll do this calculation, 5% of whatever's in C3, but then I want to, whatever answer it's got, I want to round it to have no decimal places so that it's just giving me a whole number. So whatever the answer is, whether the actual answer is a whole number or not, we're now always going to have a whole number in this cell, as you can see. Okay, I'm going to use a new sheet here. I'm going to call this sheet, so press new sheet down here, right click and rename it as a ref. So this is a reference sheet. This is where we're going to do some behind the scenes work. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit. Now, if you watched the last video, you'll remember that it's entirely possible for a kitten's weight to go down in real life if they've had a bad day, so a bad day of feeding or whatever it happens to be. So I want to simulate that in some way. So I'm going to have a system whereby I have a very, very bad day. I want the simulation to randomly choose for each kitten whether it's been a very good day or a very bad day or something in between in terms of weight gain. And so I'm going to assign each of these a number, and I'm going to say on a very bad day the kitten's actually going to lose 7% of its weight, or it's on a bad day it's going to lose 1%. On an average day it's going to gain an extra 3%. Average on a good day an extra 5%, and on a very good day an extra 7%. So what I want the system to do is first of all figure out whether it was a good or a bad day for the kitten. So I'm going to ask it to randomly assign a number between 1 and 5 on each day. So it's going to do a random number between 1 and 5. And in this case we've got a 1. If I recalculate those, it's going to change basically each time. Now what I want to do in this column is to have a word description of whether it is a good or a bad day. Now what we can do is use a function called vlookup. What vlookup does is it takes any number and it uses a reference table like this to return some other value. So in this case, if we know it's a day type 2, we know that that means it's a bad day and that we're going to want negative 0.01 that information to come into the table. So we're going to use this vlookup, which stands for vertical lookup. Okay, so you write equals vlookup. Now the lookup value is what we're going to be using to look up. So it's this value here, number 2. Press comma. It says, well, what table? Where's the table you want me to use? And it's the reference table in this here. So we select the whole table. That's the table we want to use. This is a very important step. You must press F4 at this point. Now what F4 does, if you saw my formula there, let me do it again. So it started like this, and when I press F4, it's put $signs in each of the front of numbers and letters. That's called making it an absolute reference, which means this table, where it looks for this table, is never going to change, which will make sense in a moment when I show you. So we're always going to be looking at this table. Those $signs are very important, and you get them by pressing F4 on your keyboard, or you can just manually go through and put $signs in front, but that's wasteful of time. And comma. Now what we want to know first of all is if I got the number 2, I wanted to say that that's a bad day. So that's column number 2. So the second column, we press column index is 2, and then we can close the brackets, press enter. So if we go back to the table here, it's saying if it was day type 3, that's average. That's an average day. It's day type 5, it's a very good day. Day 4, day type 4, it's a good day, and so on. So in this next cell, I want to know the extra percentage gain that the kitten will have. So we have a basic percentage gain here, and we're going to have an extra percentage gain here. So we're going to use vlookup again. So I'm going to press equals vlookup. I'm going to go to my reference table. So it's set, no, I'm not. First of all, it says which value we're going to use. We're still using value number 4 because we want to be finding out that on day type 4, which is a good day, what percentage do we want to use. So we're going to press comma. We're going to go to reference, and we're going to select the whole table. I'm going to press comma, and I'm going to press, I want column 3 this time. So basically you're going to feed into it, let's say number 5, and when you feed into number 5 we want whatever's in the third column to be returned. So we can say 3 there. Now those of you who are paying attention will notice I've not put the absolute references in. I do need to do that. I want to demonstrate to you what will happen if I don't. So it's worked in this case. If I were to copy these down, this one, the day description, works perfectly because we have these absolute references in. These are not working perfectly because the absolute reference book is not there. And what that basically means is for this row, let's say this one here, if we look at the formula, it is trying to look for a table that is in B9 to D13. That's where it's trying to find the information, B9 to D13. So if I go to the reference, B9 to D13 is this. There is no table there. The point of the absolute reference is it fixes it and says it's always this table you're looking at. When you autofill and drag down, it will change all the values for you. So let's say here, for example, it's looking for the value in E4, which is correct, and the one below is looking for the value in E5. And that's as it should be, but the table should never have changed. It's always the same table. So I'm going to go back up to here. I'm going to press F4 on that and F4 on that, and it's now become an absolute reference. If I drag this, autofill this down, that's now fixed the problem. I'm actually going to delete those because I don't want to be distracted from what we're doing. So this has now got an extra 7% weight gain, or mass gain I should say. So I now actually want to calculate what that extra mass gain is. So I'm going to write extra mass gain. Make it slightly wider. There we go. So just like we did before, we're going to take the extra weight gain, the extra percentage weight gain, which is 7%, and multiply it by the kitten's original weight, and we'll get a figure. This, as you can see, it's got 2 decimal places. We don't want that, so we're going to go back in and put round, open brackets. It's going to do that calculation, so mass times the percentage, and it's going to give an answer, but we want to round that to have no decimal places, so I'm going to write 0, close the brackets, press enter, so 7 grams. Now let's just talk through what this means. This means at the start of the day the kitten was 102 grams. It gained a basic 5% extra, but it's also decreased by 7. It's had a very bad day in another way, so it's decreased by 7 grams. So what I want to work out here is what is the net mass gain. Now net means in total the mass gain. So the net mass gain for this kitten on any day is the basic gain it had plus any extra gains. So let me just do that again. Press equals, you click on the basic gain, press add, and then add in the extra mass gain. So what that will basically be doing is 7 add minus 1. It's changed obviously because it keeps recalculating every time I do it, but I've got 8 and 8 gives me 16. 9 and 12 gives me 21. So that means on this day the kitten has gained 21 grams. Okay, so for the following day, by the way, if you've ever got this rotating cell selector here, if you want to make that go away, you just press escape on your keyboard and it will go. Right, so on the 23rd of April, the kitten's weight will be whatever it was on the 22nd plus whatever it gained that day. So I'm going to click those two, press enter, and does that all make sense? Yes, 104 plus 10 is 114. Now I've done all these nice formulas here, and I'm going to select them all and autofill them down to create a simulation for what's happening on the next day. So that day of 14% gain. Now I've got a formula here which is always taking, if I click on the formula it shows you what it's using. I'm going to select this whole row and drag it all the way down to there. Now what that will do is nicely create a simulation of what's happening to this kitten on any given day. I'm going to put all this information in a table to keep it neater, so I'm going to select everything I've done so far, and I'm going to insert and just click table and make sure that you've got my table has headers, which are these titles at the top. Make sure that's selected, press OK, it'll put it into a table for you. You can then go up to table design if you're not already there, change the style of the table if you wish to whatever suits you. Yeah, just choose whichever one you're happy with. It has changed it basically deletes any other formatting you've done. So when I put in text wrap here, it's gotten rid of that, but I actually want that back. So next I want to use some other functions to show various things. I want to show first of all the average weight gain for this kitten on any given day. So I'm going to go to here, I'm going to write average. Now I'm talking about, oh no, that's not right. Now what the table's done there is, because I was writing directly underneath, it thought I wanted to add another auto row of the table. So let's reverse what happened there. The last day I've got in my table is the 7th of May. If I start typing in anything here, Excel thinks I want to add in another row to the table. I don't want to do that. That wasn't my intention. So you want to avoid writing anything directly below the table. The only thing I think you're going to be able to do there that doesn't ruin it is something like an auto sum. There you go. And what that's done, an auto sum is adding everything in a column. So in total, it's Kitten's put on 95 grams, which is not particularly what I wanted to do. So I'm going to undo that. So I'll go 2 spaces below and I'll write average here, and I'm talking about mean average because there's many types of average. Mean average is the one we're interested in. So I'm going to write in. It actually has Excel uses the word average for mean average. So we'll do average of all of these. Press enter. So the average weight gain on any day for this simulation was 4.435 grams. It's too accurate. There's no need to have that level of accuracy, especially for simulation. So we could round that, but you've also got the option here of decreasing the number of decimals displayed. So I can just use this button here to do that. But the good thing about that is it's not actually rounded it's just displaying fewer. So they're still there if you decide you need them. So the average weight gain was 4.4. I'm going to write in brackets here, mean average. Text wrap that. Okay, now let's do the other types of average you might know. What's the median weight gain? So select them, press enter. Oops, I've done that. So I wanted to write median here. In this cell, I want to write what equals median. So median, for those who have forgotten, is if you put all the numbers in order, what one would be in the middle. So it's 8. And the mode is the most common. Now if I type in mode, it's giving me a few options. The bottom one there with the the road sign on says, it's basically saying don't use this because it's no longer it's not compatible with earlier versions. Well, no, I mean you can use it, but it won't be compatible with earlier versions. You may remember that you can have multi-modes, so if there's more than one number that comes up the most, you can have a multi-mode or a singular mode, but I'm just going to go with mode. I've done it in the wrong cell again, so over here, mode of these is 14. See if we can actually see that with our eyes. You've got 14 there, 14 there. 14 does seem to be the only repeat, so 14 is the mode. Now, other things you might want to know is what was the maximum weight ever gained on any day. So we're going to write in equals max. So 35, does that check out? Yeah, 35 is the biggest. You might want to know the minimum. So we're going to use the min function. So what was the minimum weight ever gained? I keep saying weight, I should say mass really. It was -4, so obviously that's not a gain, that's a decrease. Okay, now, let's say I wanted these to stand out a bit. Let's say I'm going to use, on this cell, it's make it bold, italics, slightly bigger. Now, I can use the format painter here. If I'm happy with the way this one looks, I can use the format painter to select the one you like, press the format painter, and then drag it across all of the others you want to change, and it will change all of those in the same way. What it's also done though is deleted any formatting that I did there already, so I need to re-establish that by changing it like that. I mean, that doesn't look great, but it does what I wanted it to do. I'm also going to put a border around it, like that. So I've got some basic statistical data there for this graph. Now, what I should be able to do is, I don't quite like having to zoom out so far, so if I drag this up to here, giving me some problems. It's where I want it, but it's giving me some problems because when it text wrapped there, it caused all the cells to change size. I want to go back to how they were originally. So if I just check this one out here, that's 24 pixels. So I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to say, all right, take me back all of these back up to 24 pixels. There we go. I think I prefer the way that looks. Now next we're going to do something called conditional formatting. Conditional formatting is using colors or other symbols to show some information about a range of data. So if I want to show which day was the best and which day were the worst mass gains, and select that whole column, go up here to conditional formatting, start down here with color bars. If I use green to yellow, red, what that will do is make the biggest values the most green, and the worst values, the lowest, the most red, everything else in between a kind of shade of yellow. And that's quite useful for quickly identifying where the good and bad values are, or the high and low values. And you can change those colors to whatever suits your color scheme. Data bars is useful because it can kind of show it as like a bar chart almost. Oops. Go back to that. So that's quite nice to play around with. Or the icon set, rather than colors, uses a symbol to show whether it's high, low, or in the middle. So those are all very, very useful tools. That's quite a nice one. Now, but you might want to be more specific about how you want your formatting. So I'm just going to clear all the formatting there. So let's say I am most interested in any day where the kitten doesn't put on more than, let's say, 8 grams. So I'm going to go to keep those cells selected, conditional formatting, and I'm going to say, show me any cell that is less than 8, and if it's less than 8, make it red, or you can do a custom show. So let's say anything less than 8, I want to bold it, and you can put a box around it, so a border I should say, and fill it red, and it's done that for me. So anything less than 8 has been reformatted. And I could also say, right, okay, what about the really good values? Anything greater than, let's say, 20. I'm just going to use one of the auto ones here. Green fill with dark green text. Good. Now, what about anything higher than 30? I might say, I want anything higher than 30. I want to maybe celebrate by making it an even, I don't know, gold maybe. Well, that's maybe potentially confusing, but well, I put less than, I shouldn't really do that. So anything greater than 30, let's make it kind of gold color. Obviously that's confusing because people could expect it to go green, yellow, then red, but it doesn't really matter. And you've also got the option of, let me clear it, you can manage the rules to see what you've got and then change the order that they're implemented in. I'm going to clear those. And then, so you've got lots of options here. Anything equal to or between, so I might say anything, I want anything between 10 and 20, fill it in red. So you've got plenty of options there with conditional formatting. I'm going to go for something very basic, clear what I've got, and I'm just going to go with color coding like that. Okay, so this is my first kitten. I want to do a simulation for 4 different kittens. So I'm going to call this one Kitten 1, and then I'm going to make a copy of this. So I'm going to right click on it, move or copy, Kitten 1. We need to click this box here that says create a copy and press OK. What that gives you here is Kitten 1 copy 2, but I'm actually going to rename that to just be Kitten 2. And I'm going to make a couple more copies. Now what you may be noticing in the background there is that the numbers are changing. But once I've made copies, even though it's a copy, it's only copying the formula, not the numbers. So it will recalculate those numbers for each different kitten. Now, let's say I've got everything working as I want it to work, and I no longer want these numbers to be changing. So the way to do that is to select all of your data, copy it, but then repaste it exactly where you were, so you don't need to click anywhere else. You paste it this time as values. So if you look here, it's changed what was a formula to just set it as the value that was currently there at the time. So if I go to Kitten 2, you can see there that's actually a formula, but on Kitten 1, I've copied and pasted it, and it's changed everything just to numbers. So that's what I want it to do. I'm going to need to go through all the kittens and redo that. So and paste as values. Now I want to combine all of the kittens' data, so their weights or their masses, every day onto one new sheet. So I'm going to create a new sheet, call it combined. So I don't really want to have to do much more work than I've already done. So I'm not going to copy things across, obviously. I'm going to use some referencing. So I'm going to press, in this cell I want it to equal whatever date is there in that cell, 22nd, and then I can just drag that down. Now it stops, if I drag it down past the 7th of May, it's going to say value because there isn't anything past the 7th of May. So let's go to there. Right, so I want a column for each kitten. It's kitten 1, and then change those. Okay, so obviously I do not want to be retyping in all those values. We're going to reference it. So press equals, and you go to the sheet that it's on, and I'm going to select that first value there. And then if I drag it down, it will put all the values from kitten 1, combine them into this table. Do the same here, kitten 2. Kitten 3. And kitten 4. There may be a better way of doing this, but I don't actually know what it is, so I'm just going to do it manually like this. Okay, put these into a table. So select the whole thing, insert table. Now I've never actually seen this error before, but if you look it up, best thing, good thing about Excel products is that you can look for, not Excel products, but Microsoft products, is that it does have quite good support. So it was a help with this error. It'll look it up, and it will say, right, to solve this error, click Table Design Tools and convert the information to a range. So I'm going to do that. So let's see how that works. So Table Design Tools, convert to range. Yeah. So it's giving me the information. Not 100% sure why it's done that, but it's fixed now. Now, you could, if you wanted to, go on and work out averages. So on this particular day, what was the average weight? So let's just select that and drag down. Tells you what the average is on each day. I'm not actually going to use that though, so I'm going to reverse that. Now, all I want to do now is insert a chart of the information. So select the table, go to Insert, Charts. I want a basic with markers, so we don't want a stack graph, we want just a regular line graph with markers, and that seems fine. There's one small change I like to make. I don't like having labels in between tick marks. I always like to have them on the marks. In this case it doesn't matter too much because it is fairly clear, but I'm going to change that anyway by right clicking, Format Axis, and then I'm going to scroll down here, tick on tick marks I should say, and there are other things you can change if you remember. You can change Sorry, that one there. You can change how the text is displayed. I don't know if that's any better. I'll leave that up to you. I'm going to go back to how it was. But don't forget, you can make any changes you want on here, including how the dates are displayed if you wish. So that's basically it. The only thing you might want to add is some proper titles and labels on the axis, as I showed you last video.